So welcome everyone to this first masterclass here from Biel. My name is Daniel King and I'm joined by Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, who's very kindly agreed to join us on his free day. So thank you very much, Maxime.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a pleasure.
Well, let me introduce Maxime for those people watching online. I should say we have some people here in the Palais des Congrès in Biel. So Maxime is currently number 2 on the live rating list. How does that sound to you? Does that sound good?
Well, to be honest, I mean, live rating, it's fun and everything, but I think, ELO should measure strength in time, and so, I mean, to be number 2 for a short period of time doesn't interest me at all, even if this was about place number 1, actually.
Well, that's a very objective way of looking at it. But, well, let me give a few other results that Maxime has had this year. First in Dortmund, just a few weeks ago, very convincing. Third in Norway Chess in May. First in Gibraltar.
Yeah, shared first.
Shared first, okay, they still count. First in the London Chess Classic in December. Then in Reykjavik in the European teams, scored 6 out of 9. Very, very solid result on board 1. Anything more you'd like to declare?
Well, I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, so I refrain from any other comments.
Okay, I think that's quite good enough. So basically, I think it's completely understandable that Maxime has risen so high in the rating list. Behind Magnus Carson, and you're a very similar age to Magnus, aren't you? Both born in 1990, both 25 years old.
1 month older.
I mean, you know each other very well. Do you feel any rivalry between you?
Well, I mean, there's of course some rivalry, but first of all, I mean, I was quite far from Magnus' level and still am. So, I mean, I'm not sure if he has to consider myself as his strongest rival or whatever. I mean, that's far from the case, even as of today. And anyway, I mean, we have actually we are very friendly towards each other, and it's more or less a case for everyone at the top. So I'm actually quite happy with that.
Good. How do you go about studying an opening? So, okay, take us back. You said you started to learn Neudorf in 2004. Is it different to...
Yeah, back then it was much different. I mean, you were just looking at some lines, you were trying to survive the opening, to know the usual plans. I mean, when do you get some d5 break, when you play on the queen side or whatever, which pieces you exchange, blah blah.
Did you use those old-fashioned things called books?
Yeah, sometimes. But I mean, of course, it's still useful today. But nowadays, of course, most of our preparation is based on concrete action that engines give us.
And well, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, what's the best engine to use? Which engine do you use?
I'm still faithful mostly to Houdini, even though it's kind of getting beaten by both Stockfish and Komodo, but at least I get what he means in general, so that's good. But
you're used to its style?
Yeah, basically. But of course, sometimes you need to mix it up a bit.
Okay. I think this is a problem for all players. How do you cope with a first round in a tournament? I mean, do you try to play training games before the tournament, or do you just take it as it is? How do you deal with the first round?
Well, it depends, but I mean, if I play a few tournaments in succession, it doesn't really matter. But of course, if I have a long pause, I try to, get back into the game. I mean, at least play some blitz, some whatever, but just to feel,
Because there are some players that nearly always struggle. I mean, Tal famously suffered in the first round. Well, Magnus often struggles in the first round or so.
Yeah, I actually don't know why, but it's a case. I mean, it's definitely not so easy to come into a new tournament and just be ready immediately.
To be match fit, it's not easy. Yeah. Because I mean, you can calculate all you like, but it's not the same as having a feel of making moves by feeling. Yeah, absolutely. What's happened over the last year or so that you've had such consistent results? Do you put this down to anything?
Well, I mean, I think I've had basically I've had much more solid, opening knowledge. I've used some time and some resources, to make my openings much less vulnerable, so I get the positions I want. And once you start, winning back some games and not losing as well, it's pleasant, but also it gives you confidence. And I mean, I've seen in the last few months that every time I had to take a critical decision, I mean, I would spend much less time to actually recheck line and just trust what I was doing, and so far it's worked out great.
Okay, so one thing is you've been working hard at your openings, but okay.
Not only me. I mean, I've received fives.
Okay, so you've had people, you've been working with other people as well. But you mentioned calculation. I mean, I see this as one of your great strengths, your speed and accuracy of calculation. Is this something you've worked on in particular?
Well, I mean, I cannot say I've worked on it that much because, well, I mean, I was naturally good at this. So, I mean, of course, I've improved over the course of years. I've seen motives, I've seen what the computer can do. So, I mean, you actually see some details that you would completely foresee otherwise.
Okay, well that's interesting. You talk about working with computers. Do you think your style, because you've grown up in the digital age, do you think your style is in some ways quite different to the chess that was played, say, 20, 30 years ago?
Well, I mean, my style is quite different from how I was playing like even 5 years ago.
Oh,
I
really?
mean, the computers had a huge leap in strengths, and of course, we're not trying to play like them, but in some way we have to imitate them because they know what they're doing, and sometimes you have to do what they're doing, even though it wouldn't have crossed your mind like 20 years ago to enter some positions that looked absolutely awful, but because of some concrete facts, or even sometimes you just pretend you can hold positions that you wouldn't even consider to play otherwise, but it just happens to be the case.
I heard that you spent, perhaps not recently, but in the past, spent a long time studying endgame studies to improve your calculation and to spot motifs. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly for my own personal pleasure at first, but it probably proved useful because even in endgames, I mean, I spot sometimes motives that wouldn't cross my mind otherwise.
That's interesting. Okay, we've got a couple of questions here. We have a question from Trond Arne Ausdal. Does Maxime think that he can beat Carson in a World Championship match in the future?
Well, let's get to that first, but of course, I mean, I have to consider myself as a possible challenger for the world crown.
And just continuing that, apart from yourself, who do you see as the other potential rivals for Magnus in the future? Who do you think is?
Well, I mean, I don't know about Vladi because, I mean, he's now 40 years old, so that might be a bit too much, but you never know. I mean, he's still fit, he can still play very good chess, so of course. I mean, I'm just doubting that, winning a candidate, of course. winning a candidate and then a world championship match might be too much for him. I don't know, but it's it's definitely on the table. There's Fabian, of course.
We should also say that Kramnik is still number 3 on.
Yeah. No, he's a very decent player, of course.
And you've worked with him in the past.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Oh, very cagey. Okay, and Fabiano you mentioned.
Yeah, but basically, everyone in the top 10 are very good players. Some actually might not have the best chances because, winning a candidate is also not so easy and requires, to win, to be very stable, and so on. But still, they're all very strong players.
Yeah, when is the next? Is the next candidates in 2 years? I'm kind of losing track.
Yeah, I'm saying top 10, but it's it depends. But there's really a lot of players. Level of chess has been. Also one fact is that, for instance, I think what separates Magnus from me at the moment is what separates myself from the number 10 or maybe 12 in the world. So.
Okay,
in terms of rating. In terms of rating.
In terms of rating, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we see because Magnus wins pretty much all the tournaments he plays in anyway right now. So.
But this is your next big aim, is it?
Of course. It's a challenge.
Reach the candidates, and let's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, reaching the candidates is definitely one. My next main goal, apart from winning tournaments.
Yeah. Okay. But it's something to look forward to in the future. Yeah.
And next candidates, to answer your question, is normally in 2018.
Yeah, I guess 2 years. Yeah. I have another question from Porty Dos. What do you feel more comfortable in playing concrete chess like in the Grunfeld and Najdorf, or positional chess like in the Spanish?
Well, I just try to be fluent in both languages, but of course I cannot say. It's of course easier in a way to play positional chess, but I also I'm thinking about how my opponents feel, and of course then it's very interesting to have a complicated fight, and with potential for mistakes from both sides.
Okay, we've got another question here from John Hartman, who says, "Hi MVL, congrats on your great results recently. How do you manage to memorize all your opening analysis? Any tips for us who struggle with memory?"
Well, I refresh my memory every time before a game, but that still doesn't prevent me from forgetting a lot of things, even during the game, even from lines. I've been looking at even 20 minutes before the game starts, so I definitely have room for improvement there.
But do you perhaps just away from a tournament, do you maybe spend 1 day a week where you just kind of go through all your analysis and?
Well, that's just not fun. No. Sometimes you actually have to do it. For new lines or whatever, but otherwise.
You don't do it by rote.
It's just too painful to do.
Yeah. Okay. We have a question from Rizki Mohammed, who says, "Hi MVL, from your chess career, who is the hardest opponent you've ever met?"
Well, I've been struggling in the past against a few players. Of course, Magnus is not so easy to play, and I don't have so good results against him. There's Hikaru as well.
Hikaru? Yeah, what's your score against Hikaru?
Minus something and 0 wins. I don't remember if it's -3 or 4 in classical. And I actually missed the opportunity to beat him a couple of times recently, especially in London. And
why do you think that is, that you struggle against Hikaru? Is it something to do with style, or what is it?
Well, I don't really know. Also, I say I'm struggling, but I also haven't lost against him for some time now, so you never know.
Okay. And this isn't asked here, but I'm asked this all the time by people. How do you become a strong chess player? So it's a very general question. So not particularly studying how you study now, but when you were, say, I don't know, a 2200 player, if you can think back that far, how did you make that progression from that level to, let's say, 2500 or something like this? What did you study? How did you study?
Well, I mean, I didn't study that much openings back then. I mean, like the essentials. I've had a great deal of work done on endgames. I mean, by my main coach at the time was Nicolas Piridonov from Bulgaria. I mean, he was living in France, still is actually. And yeah, I mean, so that's where I learned a lot of basic endgames, and it helped me tremendously and still does.
Well, I think we see that with your endgame technique. It is it's clinical. It's
not always. I mean, it's
pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's okay.
One last question here from Dorj. Do you think Wei Yi will make it to the top 10 in the next couple of years?
Top 10, I have no doubt. I mean, it's a question of time, and then to get higher, we'll see.
Okay.